Hello there, thanks so much for joining me. Today I'm going to be starting to work in my little sketchbook, and I'm using my Pro Art gouache and I'm using the rose color. And I was following a Skillshare class. I'm not very au fait with gouache, so it's all a new adventure for me, so you can join me on this adventure. And what I wanted to do was create a very like going from dark to light, I can't say variegated, wash as the background, and then I'm planning to do like a leaf pattern on top. So I've prepared the sketchbook with some washi tape, and this is very silky smooth gouache, I must say. I haven't quite learnt my water ratios with gouache yet. It's very different to watercolor, I must say. So I'm going to be doing a couple of gouache videos. I hope that you guys are happy with that, just to see how it goes. So I didn't have enough paint. I'm adding a bit more. You use much more gouache than you use watercolor. That amount of watercolor would have probably done me 7 backgrounds. It's quite interesting. I think I should be adding more water than I am, but I'm going to continue and do the background. And it feels a little bit sort of sticky as it goes onto the paper. So I was just getting myself a wet wipe to have on hand. Another thing that I'm finding with gouache is that it's much more difficult to clean out of your brush than watercolor is. And please don't think that this means that I've become unfaithful to watercolor. I certainly haven't. I absolutely love it still. Just nice to explore new mediums, and I do find that the gouache is a better medium for coloring books than watercolor, because you don't really use a hang of a lot of water with it, so it doesn't destroy the paper. Now I need to add some white to the color so that it can be a bit pale, more pale at the bottom. Just trying to smooth it as I go, but it's kind of tacky. It also dries more quickly. I feel like I'm painting a wall. It's a beautiful bright color though. So now I'm going to add a bit of more pink, more of this rose color, which as you know me, I love pinks and roses. They're kind of my favorite color. And some white. This is a very, very, very un-Halloween-y picture. I keep forgetting about Halloween. I keep meaning to do more Halloween stuff, and then it leaves my mind because there's not even anything in the shops around here about Halloween, so one just doesn't, except for the online community, doesn't really enter my head. I'm trying to use the back of the brush to mix this so that it doesn't clog the bristles too much. I'm not sure if this is a good or a bad idea, but I saw Sandy doing this with her acrylic paints. This is from Sandy's Color Creatively channel. I will put a link to the channel in case you're interested. Those of you that follow my channel know Sandy's channel, and you will know that I interviewed her in a previous video. If anybody watching this has a coloring channel and would like me to interview them and do a face-on-face chat, please email me and let me know, because I have, for those of you that watch and that enjoyed the interviews that I did with both Sandy and with Jamie, I've contacted a few other channels that were suggested to me by members of this community, and none of the creators wanted to do the video, so I felt a bit disheartened and I decided to leave it. I get disheartened quite quickly. I know I shouldn't. I must do another video on something like kindness and being kind to myself, because I always feel I'm not good enough very quickly, and it's silly. We mustn't do that to ourselves, but it just happens. I think being a creator, putting videos up, sometimes challenges that side of myself, that feeling not good enough side of myself, because I keep thinking, oh my gosh, why am I doing it? And then I remind myself I'm doing it to share my love of art and to share my love of creating and to show people that you don't have to be brilliant to still love art. So I like to share what I've learned. So that's made a fairly nice blend. And while I leave that to dry, I've decided to use some of this pink that's left to do a background in my new Matchstick Mouse summer book. So I'm just going to paint this on here. And as you all know, this is Amazon paper, and you'll see how nicely gouache works on this, which I think is quite fascinating. So I'm going to put a little bit of music on while I do this background, and then I'm going to be back, so don't go anywhere, and I'm going to finish my picture for you. So you can see how easily it goes on. I've needed to thin it down a bit because it was sticky, and I changed from the brush I was using to this fairly fine detail brush. So even thinned down, it's not really wet like watercolor, so it's not even making the paper crinkle very much. And you can see how easily this goes on here. So I think that's enough of this in this book, and you can see how the picture turned out at my end of the month colorings. So now we're going on with medium green, and I've changed my palette to a flat one, which on one of the Skillshare classes I was following. Excuse me. Please excuse me. They recommended a flat palette being better for gouache than a bowl. So now I've just got a little bit of water on the end of my brush, and I'm just activating the gouache. And I'm going to do some leaves, just like a simple leaf pattern. It's a very silky gouache, and my next video I think I'm going to try out the little pans that I showed you in my haul. So I just want to see how it flows, and I think it's all right, just needs a fraction more water. Just trying to get the water consistency right. So when I dip it in the water, I just dip the very tip of the brush into the water. There, that's better. I always get a bit nervous, and I'm trying to get a point onto my brush. I can't decide whether to start at the top or the bottom with the stem of my leaves. Decisions, decisions. top, bottom, no. Okay, here we go. And then let's try from the top down to get a curve. This is not a very organic looking stem. Always find these first marks a little bit nerve-wracking. And then I decided to just relax. And the consistency is not quite right. Now you'll see I'm painting on my washi tape. And again, this is something I've learned in doing online art classes. And they say if you paint your leaf so that it's kind of not fully on the page, or in this case on the square, it kind of grounds it and gives it a position in space, as it were. I don't know if I've explained that correctly. But so, as far as I can tell, there's nothing like wet on wet with gouache or anything like that, like there is with watercolor. Decided to have a double leaf coming out over here. I have found, since I've started trying to paint and draw and doodle and that I look at things much more closely to see what they look like. You can see how easy it is to form a leaf. You put the tip down and then the belly of the brush, and then you lift up again to that point. So I wanted this leaf kind of curling over the stem. And now that must dry, and I must do another stem. I want to get the point again nicely. This is a comb brush size 6 KUM. I got it here in South Africa at my little local art shop that subsequently closed. I think they also sell them at Art Savings Club. They're quite nice brushes. It was lovely to hear from a subscriber who had also enjoyed visiting the little art shop up the road. So sad when an art shop closes, but apparently the lady, I contacted her to ask if it was COVID that had done things, but apparently they were transferred, so that's why she's working just online now. So now I'm going to move forward again to the next bit. I do another leaf, and then I just add a bit of a pastel green to kind of make it look more interesting. So I left it to dry with the other leaf, and now I'm just removing the washi tape. Looking at it, I think in a way that I should have actually extended my little branches over my square to, and yeah, sort of out of the square, but it is what it is. And I pulled a little bit of paper here, so I broke the washi tape, and I just need to take this off very carefully. That's a bit rough there, but not too bad. I do wish I could remember what the sketchbook was. So now I'm going to mix up from the same green. I'm just adding some white and mixing it in. The paint is all still nice and wet, very moist and creamy. It's a very nice creamy gouache. I mean, I don't know enough about gouache to do a review really, but this Pro Art gouache is fun to work with and very affordable if you happen to live in South Africa. I got it at P&A. I think I showed it in a previous haul. I know one of my subscribers said they'd also bought some and were enjoying it. So I think it's probably like many of the generic brands of gouache that are around. Okay, so now I'm going to do this pale pastel green just down the stem as well. I've made this a little bit more watery so it actually runs in a nice thin line down the stem, just to be a bit of a highlight. And then I'm going to do across one edge of each leaf to highlight it and make it a little bit more interesting. This one now I did the highlight of the stem over the top of the leaf, so it spoiled my idea of this leaf going over the stem, so I just carried the highlight a bit further. You can always find a fix when you make a mistake. I think that should be my motto. So I've moved forward a little bit, and I'm really at the end. I've done all of those, and I feel like it needs a bit of something to liven it up. So I want to do some splashes. So I just decided to check them. So I've decided I need a bit more water on my brush. Always scared it comes out as a huge splotch. And I'm just going to do a couple of splashes over it. And it's amazing how that lifts the picture and just gives it some life. And there we have it. It is finished. I hope you've enjoyed watching the video, and I'd like to thank you so much for joining me. See you again in the next one. Have a colourful week. Bye-bye now.